Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Today we're going to be planning in my planner, as I do every month. I try to make one of these videos a month. And the topic for this time is going to be things that I thought about one night instead of sleeping like a normal person. And it's exactly what it sounds like. I was trying to sleep one night and I just kept thinking of really interesting things that I wanted to talk about, and so I decided to squish them all into one video, and I eventually did get to sleep, but that's not what we're talking about now. Right now we're talking about the things I was thinking of. So the first thing that I was thinking about was how could I get to sleep, which isn't really that random, but I was thinking, what if I ran outside and just like ran around, tire myself out, and then come back inside, and then I'll be tired and I'll fall asleep easily because my body wants to sleep and rest and all that. And that got me thinking about sports, and obviously I don't play any sports currently. Sometimes I do sporty things like go swimming once in a while or take a dog on a walk, but what I was really thinking about was when I was a kid and I would go to summer camp, and for some reason the counselors were just not okay with letting me not play sports, like dodgeball, anything that they hosted in the gym, any kind of like soccer or blacktop sport thing. I didn't want to do it, and they just really wouldn't let me not do it. And I always sucked at it, which made me hate it even more. And I was scared of the other kids hitting me with such equipment as like tennis balls, dodgeballs, rackets, things like that, because I was a small child and I did not want to get hurt, because getting hurt means pain and pain is bad. But for some reason they would always make me play, so I would like purposefully lose so that I could be done playing. Like in dodgeball, I would have one of my friends that was on the other team throw it at me in a way that I knew wasn't going to hurt, but so that I could stop playing. My cat is making such a ruckus. So while I was thinking about sports at summer camp, I was also thinking about the art station at summer camp. And one year they were doing renovations on the building that my camp was hosted at, so we were basically not living, but like they were hosting the camp at a nearby middle school, which actually had an art room. So that was really cool because we had some supplies and a lot of space to do like real people art. And the one day we did clay, and I made a hammerhead shark, and I was super proud of this shark for some reason. I think it was pretty okay for like being a child, like a 7-year-old trying to make something out of clay. And I was bringing it home, as you do when you go home from summer camp. And by some twist of fate, something happened between me, my sister, and the car door, and it ended up on the floor, smashed into a bunch of pieces. And I was angry and I was crying, and it was probably a mistake, but I for sure thought that my sister did that on purpose because she wanted to have a better clay sculpture than me or something along those lines. And I wish I kept the pieces for it. They might be somewhere in my house. I feel like I might have like hidden them somewhere so that she couldn't find it, but now that means I won't be able to find it. So yeah, but I really was upset when my hammerhead shark broke. So related to my sister breaking something, I'm sorry if you're watching this, but I mean, that's how things work. The people you live with will most likely be the ones to break your stuff because they interact with it. But another thing that my sister broke was my very first tablet, and she wasn't alone in this. My dad was also a culprit in this crime against me. So basically, when I was a kid, I liked to read a lot because it meant I didn't have to talk to people, and there were all these cool subjects I could read about, and learning things was fun for me. So I liked reading. I liked reading fiction and nonfiction alike. So my mom thought, what a great idea to get me a Barnes & Noble tablet for my birthday. And it was a great idea. This was like back when tablets were new, so it wasn't the greatest. It wasn't anything like an iPad or like an Amazon tablet the way they are now. It was very simple, mainly for reading. I think the only other apps on it were like a drawing app and a music app, and then you had like your book storage on there. My family actually called it the beef jerky tablet because that was one of my weird nicknames at the time, because I would always eat beef jerky and ask for people to buy me beef jerky as like a present. So yeah, it was called my beef jerky tablet. And again, something happened between my dad and my sister, the table, the floor, and some water, and it ended up breaking. Of course, they didn't want to buy me a new one because they were expensive for the time, even though they weren't that great. So I just had to deal with it because my tablet, which at that point was like 3 weeks old, like still pretty new, they had broken it and it could no longer be used, which really sucked. But eventually I got my iPad and my phone, which are a lot better technology, of course, but still, don't, like, if someone lets you borrow their tablet, don't break it. I think that's the main takeaway here. So if you can't tell, my thought stream on this night was my childhood, and one of the weird things that I remembered was my very first daycare provider was one of my neighbors, and she had a child that also went to school in the same grade as me. So it was like I get to go to daycare in the morning while my parents are at work, plus I get an automatic friend. So I'm winning in both ways. But the thing is, the lady that was hosting the daycare, it was just me and her kid, but she would let us have a gumball. I think maybe like one gumball a day, or like whenever you finish your homework, you get a gumball out of the gumball machine. And that was like a great reward system for me, because being a kid that went to camp, gum was like this prized possession, but usually it was like a stick gum, not a gumball. So I was like really happy to get gumballs for some reason. They were very exciting. This was in like the first grade, by the way, so I didn't have money to go and buy my own things, so gumballs were like a special treat, and I really wanted to save them for some reason. So I took in like a shoebox, and every time I got a gumball, I wouldn't eat it right away, I would like save them. So for some reason, I had this box of gumballs under my bed for like a year, and then eventually, of course, I had to clean my room, and my mom and I were going through, and she found this box, and she was like, "What the heck are you doing with like a box of gumballs down here?" And I was like, "Oh, well, my daycare provider gave them to me because I did my homework." And then she was like, "She gave you all of them?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but it was like over a bunch of days." But she just didn't understand that. And then she was like, "Well, you might have to throw them out because they're probably bad by now." And I didn't throw them out. I think I ate like all of them over the course of like 2 or 3 days. And I just had like a gum spree or something like that. So obviously I was kind of a weird kid, always eating beef jerky, not wanting to play sports, saving a box of gumballs under my bed. But I was also kind of strange, I guess, to other people, and they thought that was bad. So when I was in school, I got bullied a lot. But when I was thinking about it, I realized I didn't really know what was happening when I was getting bullied. Like, people would say inappropriate things to me, or like purposefully take my things and hide them. And I didn't understand that that was like targeted toward me, and that it wasn't happening to everyone. I was just like, well, I guess that this just happens. And that's kind of sad to think about, because I guess I didn't seek help for it, which is like not a thing that should have happened. Like, people should have been looking out for me. So I guess in that way someone else has failed me by not intervening with that. But I have had like time to think about what happened, and like the different people that were involved. And some people I've forgiven because I'm like, they probably were going through some weird stuff. But other people, I'm like, yeah, that was really unwarranted, and even though I didn't tell you to stop, you should have realized it for yourself. I remember there was this one kid on my bus called Paul, and he was so mean and rude for no reason. He was one of the kids that was like always cursing, always like hitting people and getting in fights, and I didn't want to be near him at all, but he was on my bus stop, which meant every single day I have to see him and possibly sit on the bus with him. And as I've said, I went to daycare. At this point I was going to a different daycare, but I had other people to ride the bus with, so usually I didn't have to sit with him. But when I went to middle school, I had to go on the middle school bus, and that meant that a lot of the people at the daycare couldn't sit with me anymore because they would be on the next bus, not my bus. So I eventually had to sit on the same bus as Paul, and there was one day where I had to sit with him, and I was really trying to just ignore the situation and get through it. And there was some incident where his artwork slipped and got ripped, and there was a tear in it, and he was really upset with me. And I was like, no, wait a second, I have tape. And I pulled out a roll of tape from my backpack, and I fixed his art, and then he was like a totally different person, and he was like, yeah, you know, that's really weird to carry tape in your backpack. And I was like, well, would you have rather that I didn't bring tape and your art was still ripped? And I don't know, it just goes to show you don't know what's going on and what people are thinking and like what's affecting them. So maybe something really bad was going on with him, and when his art ripped, he was like super upset, or like maybe just he was very sensitive and everything made him upset. But he's one of the people that I like forgave over time, because I think he was actually younger than me. So that's kind of weird, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking about anymore. Obviously, I think about a lot of random things, but right now I'm thinking about my cat trying to eat my hand. She has to go to a kennel for the first time this week, so I'm letting her get away with it because she doesn't know what's coming. But yeah, I will see you all in my next video, which will probably be a review, which I haven't done in a while because I don't buy a lot of new things. But if you want to see that, you can subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. And if you like this video, you can like it. If you want to leave me some topic suggestions for future videos, you can do that as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye!